Lo irara ki ata imadi shevtecha umeshantecha hema Yinachamuni Taroich Lefonai Shulchan Neged Soiroi Tishanta Vashemen Roishi Koisirivoyo Achtoim v'chesed yidifuni kol yimei chayoi v'shavti b'beis Adonai Leorech Yamim. And I shall dwell in the house of the Lord for length of days. Eishes Chayil Miyimtza, a gallant woman who can find, far beyond pearls is her worth. Her husband's heartfelt trust is in her, and she shall lack for nothing. She bestows good upon him, never harm, all the days of her life. She seeks out wool and linen, and her hands work willingly. She is like a merchant fleet, bringing her sustenance from afar. She rises while it is yet night, and gives provision to her household, and direction to her maidens. She envisions a field and acquires it. From the fruit of her handiwork, she plants a vineyard. With vigor she girds her loins and strengthens her arms. She discerns that her enterprise is good. Her lamp does not go out by night. She stretches out her hands, and her palms support the spindle. She spreads out her palm to the poor, and extends her hands to the destitute. She fears not snow for her household, for her entire household is cloaked in scarlet wool. Fine covers she made herself, linen and purple are her clothing. Prominent in the gates is her husband, as she sits with the elders of the land. Her children arise and praise her, her husband, and he lauds her. Many daughters have accomplished well, but you surpass them all. Grace is false, and beauty is vain. A woman in awe of God, she should be praised. Give her the fruits of her own hand, and let her deeds praise her in the gathering places. And so, we're going to celebrate the life of Mildred Rose Silverstein as we share some of her many, many accomplishments. Her father, Michael Rothkopf, was from Romania, and her mom, Regina Simchovich, probably in the old country, was from Hungary. And we spoke about Romania and Hungary being so close that very often the border, you could be in the same house, you could be in Hungary today, and a week later it's Romania, and you haven't gone anywhere. The borders would change. But they wound up meeting in America. Regina came over to America when she was only 13 years old. Unimaginable. 13-year-old coming from Hungary. And she worked to bring her brothers and sisters. She worked in a factory so that she could bring over her siblings. 13-year-old girl. Unimaginable, right? Wow. And the Rothkopf family, I believe Michael was here. They had the Rothkopf dairy. There was Michael and Ben. And her mom, Regina, met Michael. They met at a dance, and they were married about 1912 and lived in Glenville. William was born in 1914. Bernie in 1919, and Mildred in 1922, Zichronim Livracha. All three of them born here in America and went to Glenview for elementary. Then the family lived on East Derbyshire, and the children went to Heights High. Mildred went actually to Ohio State, and she was in Ohio State. She loved phys ed, physical, activity, health. She was ahead of her time, right, before the Surgeon General had any warnings on anything or how important we understood phys ed was. So she was ahead of her time, really. She loved phys ed. She loved baseball and sports and activities like that, but she left Ohio State after 2 years. She went to be with her mom. She wanted to be with Regina, who needed some support. We said that Mildred was only 13 when her father had passed away. So she left Ohio State to be a support for her mom. She worked for a collection agency, and her brothers, Bill and Bernie, served in the United States Army in World War II. They were both in the war, which we said may be part of the reason that Mildred came home, right, to be with her mom, because her siblings were away, maybe at the war. Bill wound up going to dental school, and he was very strong and protective of Mildred. And Bernie would always take Mildred around, her brother Bernie, spending time with her and keeping her busy. And then Bernie was involved in Las Vegas, Nevada with the Desert Inn. I guess that Uncle Lou Rothkopf was a partner there. And Mildred wound up going to Las Vegas in the 1950s, which is also way ahead of everybody else, right? It was a little shtetl then. I think it was probably founded, right, not long before that, right? So, again, ahead of everybody else. Some Dutch Weinberg fixed up Louis label with Mildred. Somehow Mildred had known the Weinberg girls, maybe in 1955 or 56. So that was the shidduch that set her up with her future husband, Louis Label. And they were married, and they were blessed with children. Michal Dina, better known as Marcia, right, who's here with us today, born in November of 1960. And Bina, Barbara, born in March of 1963. 2 children that Louis and Mildred brought into the world together. How special, right? To be able to be a family. Louis owned Bayreuth at Cedar Center, and Mildred worked in real estate. That was how she kept busy. The family lived at 2462 Milton Road. I think I passed your house on Shabbos yesterday. Everybody around's got sukkahs. Wherever you go, everybody's running to and fro. It's a very busy Jewish neighborhood. The girls went to the Belvoir School, both Marcia and Barbara, and they really, really had a wonderful, wonderful upbringing, in that their mom just was such a wonderful mom for them to be a school mother, meaning she loved having their friends over. She loved feeding their friends. She just loved having guests. Friends were always welcome, and her parents took in people that needed help. This was really astounding. I think you mentioned a couple of specific individuals, right, that they needed a break in life, and your parents took them into their home without charging any rent, just to give them a place to stay. Isn't that amazing? Really amazing. She enjoyed movies, horseback riding, was part of the Taylor Road Synagogue Bowling League. Taylor Road Synagogue, a special part of her life. Her husband was very involved. She loved golfing, and she was so engaged in life and people. She loved giving and caring for others, to be a giver. You know, the Talmud tells us the entire Torah, says Rabbi Akiva. What is the entire Torah? In, as we would say, a nutshell, right? In a V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. Love thy neighbor as thyself. And so all the mitzvot, every mitzvah, of course, each has its own deep philosophical reasons and heavenly accomplishments. However, ultimately, every mitzvah involves giving, not being selfish. And she was giving and caring. That was really her trademark. She uplifted people. She brought out the best in people, the best in human beings. She would polish diamonds. Only the diamonds she was polishing were her friends, her neighbors, those that she interacted with and loved. She was always optimistic, upbeat, positive, resilient. She overcame illness so many times, even when doctors gave, dismal assessment. She defied them and battled and proved them wrong. Even toward the end, when she was losing her eyesight, she wouldn't stop fighting. She never complained, and she found many compensations in life. Life can have many compensations. So if she lost that, she would come to accept it. She would find other ways to celebrate life and to continue to grow. She was a genuine person. She was a passionate person about the things that she believed in. She was outgoing, had very strong relationships. She strove to be helpful, helping relatives. And she had a deep love for her nephew, Dick Rothkopf, Richard, and a niece, Adana, and where she stood in as a mom almost. When I believe Donna lost her mom, was that it? And she really took her in as a daughter to a mother. And it was reciprocal. Like the Torah says, Kemayim panim al panim. As we stare into the water, the reflection stares back at us. And so Richard also felt that way about Mildred. And he helped her in so many ways later on as he could, so to speak. I don't know if the word repay is right. I don't know that we can ever repay, but that's the relationship. That's the music. To give, to continue back and forth, to give, to fulfill the mandate that we're here for, to be on earth, to emulate God, to give. And so he was like a son, Richard, and just returning the love that Mildred had showered on him. And she was close with many people, Mildred, but don't think that she was a pushover. The daughters went out of their way to say she was assertive, and if she really wanted to help someone, she very often could fire up those around her to do so. She found ways to connect and to push forth her agenda to help other people. And she was relentless, was the word the family used, in finding ways and means to accomplish the good that she wanted to accomplish. She always lit Yortzeit candles for souls who had departed. She never forgot them, and she understood that we are here on this world as a preparation for the world to come. And the world to come is something we mention so many times in our prayers, in the Amidah, the standing Shemona Esrei, that this world is really a preparation for a world that is much, much greater, beyond our grasp. Even angels are not privy to the spiritual bliss of the world to come. And we talked a little bit, the family, about the Kabbalistic understanding that every human being has a godly soul, because before our soul came down to this world, God was giving it spiritual bliss because God wanted to give, but the soul was ashamed. All the souls were ashamed because to receive without having done anything is like a handout. And the Kabbalah, the Zohar, calls that Nahama de Chisufa, bread of shame. So God devised a plan where that souls would be sent down into a physical world where God literally hides, because everything about God is good. God is infinite. Everything is good. So for evil to exist, God really has to hide himself to allow it to exist. And God concocted this universe to allow us to overcome evil so that we could feel that we're earning a reward, to subdue our own evil and the evil around us, to be selfless, to be giving, and to be godly. And so that's the concept of a soul. And when someone passes away, That's why the yahrzeit is so important. The birthday is really not so meaningful once the person passes away. Because at the date the person passes away, and I believe our Masha passed away the 17th of Tishrei, right? 17th of Tishrei. The date that a person passes, Mildred passed away. Chas v'shalom, right? Okay, Mildred passed away the 17th of Tishrei. The date that a person passes away is the moment they take every good deed they ever did from the moment they were born until they left this world. Every mitzvah is cloaked around their soul. And, in our faith, traditionally, we go to shul 3 times a day, the Amidah, and we proclaim in the Amidah right at the beginning. We are the God of our ancestors, the God, Mechaya Mesim, who rejuvenates the dead, that God will rejuvenate us by our very deeds that we did. The Tiferes Yisrael, the great rabbi, talks about the butterfly and the caterpillar, and that God made them as a parable. You ever see a caterpillar? It fills up on leaves. Then what happens? I brought one in the house for the kids to watch. It spins like a tomb, and it's totally in this tomb. It looks completely dead. And the children say, Daddy, it's not moving. It's not eating. It's not doing anything. It's dead. I say, watch. Let's see. And weeks go by. And not only is the caterpillar not dead, but it comes out of that cocoon, that tomb, a much more beautiful creation. A beautiful, beautiful butterfly. I don't know if you've noticed, the last few days I've seen hundreds of monarch butterflies all around here flying. They're migrating now. But that's a lesson for us. God put them in the world to teach us. And so is the journey of our soul. Cloaked with every good deed we ever did, at the yahrzeit, it takes all those deeds up to God. And when God will so decree it, there will be a Techiyas HaMesim, with the coming of the Mashiach, a rejuvenation, a resurrection. And we will be more beautiful than we ever were, because it will be a time when evil will be swallowed up. Death will be swallowed up. It's beyond our ability to see, but it's not beyond our ability to believe, to understand, because we see so much godliness in the world. So her lighting of the yahrzeit candles is really so special. It's really a peek into the world to come. Because every year on a yahrzeit, the soul ascends higher and higher. And when its loved ones perform good deeds on this earth, it draws great spiritual energy from those good deeds. That's why when we go to the cemetery, in our tradition, we don't really bring flowers. That's not a traditional thing. I know well-meaning people will bring flowers, but flowers is for me and you when we're home and we're feeling sad. Flowers are really beautiful. They can make us happy. But for a soul that's with God, celebrating God's bliss, a flower is not attractive at all. What's meaningful to a soul in the upper worlds? That we remember you. That we will build your monument by the good deeds we do. That every mitzvah you did was a stone. It's permanent. See, a mitzvah is deceiving in a way. A mitzvah, you can't touch it. You can't feel it. It's something you have to believe in. That's what the rock does. The rock teaches us that a mitzvah has more reality. Maimonides tells us the mitzvah has more reality than this table here, than this lectern. A mitzvah is forever and ever. And so we go to our loved one's resting place, the headstone. We put down a stone and we build their monument. But it's a commitment that we're going to live our lives according to the way you taught us. Honesty, integrity, love, giving, all those values, all that Torah, we're going to continue in that way. And that's why it's our tradition to go before Rosh Hashanah. You know that. A lot of people around the high holidays, we go to the cemetery to remember our loved ones, because we are they on this earth, and we can help them by the good that we do, just as they continue to help us just by being an example for who we should strive to be. I want to talk a few more things that Rabbi Feinstein had mentioned. Also, first, we want to talk about, she was very, very proud and loved so much her granddaughter, Alexa. Is it Rachel? Right? How pretty. And she was born in 1990. And grandson, Yosef, Blake. And my name is Yosef, too, so we share a name. But you're a lot more handsome than I am, so. And we know Yosef was very handsome. We know that from the scripture that almost got him into trouble in Egypt, you may remember. So Blake, she loved Blake so much. Blake was born 1994. She adored her grandchildren. And she also was very fond of Ken, who married Barbara in 2017. Especially that Ken had come all the way from Florida to see her, to ask permission to marry Barbara. Mildred always remembered that and thought so highly of Ken. She took in Glenn, and she also had so much love for Barbara's stepson, Aaron. And I have some notes now from Rabbi Feinstein, if I may. She loved her dogs and cared for them so beautifully, and she gave them the best food. So that was very special. Her favorite was the barbecue, to go outside and make steaks, delicious chicken drumettes. The whole neighborhood would come over to have and to share her delicious chicken drumettes. Brought home delicious fruit from the family store at Cedar Center, such as watermelon. Would share the watermelon with the whole block. Everybody would have. Trusting of others, even those most had given up on. She trusted people that others had given up on. I remember Rav David Lopian once told me there was a fine young man, but some people were critical of him. And he held of that person in the rabbinical school. So he went to a great elderly rabbi and he said, there's this young student, a lot of people are critical of him, but I really hold of him. And you know what the rabbi said? He was asking him, like, what could I do for him? He was saying, the fact that you hold of that person, the fact that you believe in that person, that's the greatest thing you can do for that person. Just to believe in them. And look what the daughters are telling us. Look at that. She trusted people and believed in people that others had given up hope for. Life to Mildred was a cup that was always half full. She was always positive, resilient, and especially with the recent hospitalizations, whether it was shingles or broken ribs, having problems with her knees. The doctors would write her off, but she wouldn't give up. She loved life, and she had a passion for the things that she loved. She even taught her husband, of blessed memory, how to be a golfer. Really. She taught him how to play golf. She was good at everything she tried to do. Cards, gold, rummy, friends, social, everything. She was always busy. And she entertained herself sometimes with gambling. Her brother was the president of the MGM Hotel in Vegas, and she would go there, but she enjoyed the fun of it, the joy of it. She loved the old movies, would love to watch them with the kids. Wherever she went, she made an impression on the people she met. They saw her as such a genuine, caring, real person, there for others. She'd go out of her way to help people. What was her method? She'd ask someone that she knew to do something for someone else that she needed. She knew the person needed something. She'd find someone that she knew who could help with that particular thing. That was her way. She had a way. So not only did she help herself, she helped the person she knew to help the third person. You see, when you spur others on to do good, that's perhaps even greater than just doing good yourself. So, for example, it says in the Talmud, someone who comes around collecting for poor people is doing a bigger mitzvah than the one giving the $1 or $2 to charity. The one causing people to give to charity is doing a greater deed than the one giving. Now, we're not undermining the one giving, but the one causing all these people to give charity. What a great thing. And here's a woman who caused other people to help others. She found a way. That's so special. That's a very high level of kindness, of chesed. She was relentless, never gave up on her mission to help others. She was assertive about her beliefs to do the right thing. If the girls, if Marsha and Barbara wanted to do different activities, she found a way to do both. That should make everybody happy. She had the will to live, to be with people. She wanted to be involved in the things that were special to her husband, like Taylor Synagogue. She celebrated the holidays. Hanukkah, she had a gift every night, a gift for the children. She worked so hard to be able to realize her dreams, whether it was real estate or she was in collections. And we talked about how Richard played such an important part in her life. Her husband passed away 19 years ago, but still she traveled. She kept active, whether it was Florida or Las Vegas. She drove into her 90s. She was still driving. And even when she needed a walker, she'd throw it in the trunk and drive to the places she wanted to go. She loved baseball, grew up with sports, we said. Loved the Indians, a big fan, passionate about the Indians. She knew all the stats of every player, every detail. And she also had an adopted brother, Glenn. She saw he needed extra love, and she did whatever she could, like a son to her. And we talked about how Blake loved his grandmother and the way they would joke together with each other. She was a queen among queens. That's what Barbara says. But she was humble, gracious, asking for nothing in return. She loved and cared for everyone, and they reciprocated that well. And she had a niece, we talked about Donna, a brother's child. The mother died. She became like a mother for them. And this is just, like we said, some of the things. At this time, I hope I was able to give over a little bit, a small glimpse of the history of Mildred and why we will remember her forever. And now we would ask, the family will come up to speak in the order. So we said first Alexa, the granddaughter, and then Gray, then Richard and Barbara.
I wrote it out on my phone, so I'm just going to read it off my phone. Okay. My heart is extra heavy today. This is a huge loss for me and our family. You may know Millie in different ways, a mother, an aunt, a relative, a friend. To me, she was my grandma, and I want to express what she means to me. Growing up, she was a key figure in my life, a role model, someone I always looked up to and could count on for anything, someone who was always there for me. If I had to pick one word to describe my grandma, it would be selfless. She always went out of her way to make sure I had what I needed or wanted, even if it was inconvenient for her. The word no was literally not in her vocabulary. I'll never forget when she used to pick me up from school. She would ask me what I wanted to eat. She always went to multiple drive-thrus for me, whether it was going to Burger King for one thing and McDonald's for another, or surprising me with my favorite Starbucks drink. She just wanted to make me happy. That's just who she was. She loved having me and my brother over for sleepovers and would stay up late with us watching Nickelodeon, and of course our favorite show was Alex Mack. She enjoyed taking us out to eat at our favorite restaurants or going to movies with us. She loved going to my dance recitals and going to my brother's sporting events. She always showed up no matter what the occasion. She just wanted to be with her grandchildren and was so proud of us. Everyone who knows my grandma knows she was the most caring, loving person and made everyone feel important. She had so much love for life and for people, always putting everyone's needs before hers. She is truly the most genuine soul I've ever known. I will always cherish the memories we had together, too many to include, and the very special bond we shared. My hope is to follow in her footsteps when I am a mother someday. I hope to be as loving, patient, and as kind as she was. She will always hold a special place in my heart. I will never forget all the lessons she taught me. The most important one is to be a nice person. Be nice to people. You never know what someone is going through, she used to tell me. I am so blessed and grateful to have had her in my life. We are all lucky to have her in our lives. I know you are in a better place now, reunited with Grandpa and your family, smiling down on us, watching over us. Your spirit lives on through me. A part of me will always be a piece of you. Until we meet again, I love you.
And Millie, I'm honored to be here with you and with Millie today. I'm just going to share an anecdote. It's going to be quick. When I was doing research for her brother, my grandfather, Bill, I was doing research about his time in the war, and I called Millie. This is less than a year ago, and I spoke with her a few times, and I had some help as well in speaking with her. I pushed her. I have to admit, I pushed you, and the reason I pushed her is because she had nothing unkind to say, and that was troubling for me because I was specifically trying to understand my grandfather and potentially his anger in coming back from the war and being a veteran and not really being looked after the way he probably should have been. And Millie thought about things before she responded to me, and she responded a number of times. And there are people that, after hearing these responses, would think, oh, she's hiding something from me. But I came away with a very different opinion. I came away understanding that this is a woman who had nothing unkind to say about anybody ever. That those words were not in her vocabulary. And it's not that she didn't pause to consider what I asked. It's not that she didn't try to fulfill my wish, because she did that for all of us. She tried to fulfill what our wishes were. She just had nothing unkind to say. So the anecdote I have is a very short one. In a number of the stories that she told me, this one for some reason is memorable to me, about her supportiveness, that she would really do anything for us. And in this case, it was before the Battle of the Bulge, and Bill had written her that an anecdote saying that the boys didn't have any time to change their underwear. So instead of changing them, instead of wearing them, they would just throw them away when they were too dirty. So she went out to the store and to buy underwear, and at that time, a lot of things people needed just weren't available. So there weren't any underwear. There were just these long underwear. And she said, oh, Bill's not going to wear those. And the salesman said, oh, if he needs them, he'll wear them. Now, it turned out that Bill was headed to the Battle of the Bulge, where things were very cold. So he was very happy to have those underwear. And I thank you for sending my grandfather those long underwear. I'm very happy to be here.
So nice to see all of you. And Bert and I were discussing before that, it is ironic that Millie, again, has brought the family together, which is what she always wanted to do. And there's not too much I can say after this great speech from the rabbi, who really did a good job of describing Millie and also the cycle of life and death that we need to understand. I could just give you my own personal feelings of my relationship with my aunts. It was unique for me. I was born when Millie was 23 years old. And she was there when I was born, and she was with me from that moment till the moment that she died. The rabbi mentioned that she was relentless. I would say, yes, relentless, and also stubborn. A stubborn woman, right? Her love was unimpeachable. You could not, I specialized, especially when I was younger, in being cynical, and I would criticize Millie for being so unconditionally loyal to her family members and to the friends and people that she took in. And she taught me, no, unconditional love can exist. People can be like that. And I've always strived to try fellow human beings. But that is really what I think she brought to our family and what I will always remember about her.
I'm glad we can all be here today to honor my mom and her memory. Where do I begin? My mother was my queen, my teacher, my friend, my confidant. I feel so blessed and grateful to have a mother like her. She was so unconditionally loving and caring. She taught me so much. She taught me to look at life with a positive, optimistic perspective. No matter what the situation, she would always find the good in it. No matter what a person's faults, she would always find something nice to say about them. Her heart was as big as the oceans. She opened her home to family and friends, always wanting to feed them and make them feel good. She was so selfless, never thinking of herself. It was always about others. How could she help someone or make someone else feel good? Her empathy and compassion were endless. She made you feel loved and cared for. She was always a safe place. Even people that first met her felt a connection to her. She had a gift to connect with people. She had this incredible aura that you were drawn to. She was also a lot of fun to be with. She was a doer. She loved golf, her baseball, like the rabbi mentioned. She knew all the statistics and all the players, every team, and was very passionate. She loved movies, restaurants, cards, gambling, politics. She was the most incredible mother. She always joined in with us and took us to every activity with our friends. She was driving us. She was participating. She was teaching us. She was an incredible role model and mentor and example about how to live life and how to enjoy life. Whatever the activity, she engaged fully with all her being. She was passionate about people and passionate about life. Not to mention her strength and resilience. She was the strongest person I've ever met and the most resilient, a true fighter, a true warrior. In the darkness, she was a bright light. Her light will always shine in those of us lucky enough to know her. She is my North Star. She will always live on with us and in our family and our grandchildren. Her love is endless and will always be with all of us.
Everyone spoke so beautifully from the heart. Words from the heart, they penetrate the heart. How Alexa said she didn't see other people's faults. She said, think about what they're going through, right? Was that it? What they're going through? What they're going through? Think about them. It's a whole world to live up to. It's a whole world of it's a better world, right? Like you said, she saw the glasses half full. And was it Gray, right? Ray said that she had nothing bad to say. He's pushing and pressing Come on, I want some good gossip. But it's not there. Because like Yosef interpreted dreams, right? If you see things a certain way, that's the reality. That becomes your reality. And that's how you interpret it. And that's such a blessing and such a demand upon all of us to live up to that. I feel so small hearing all these stories just because it's such a giant of spirit to live up to that kind of standard of interpreting things and people in a heavenly way. The Chovas HaLevavos, the duties of the heart, says a story. A rabbi was walking with his students. It's a holy book. It was written 1,000 years ago by a rabbi judge in Iraq. Duties of the heart. It says the rabbi is walking with his students, and they pass a repugnant, a rotting carcass of a lion. And the students tell the rabbi, how repugnant is this carcass? And the rabbi says, how beautiful and white are its teeth. That's what he saw. He just saw beauty in the white teeth. Shlomo HaMelech, I heard Rabbi Miller said, Shlomo HaMelech says, flies are attracted to decaying things, right? Flies, there are some people, they're always looking to find faults in others, and they want to dwell on, and they look for, that's like flies, being attracted to rot. But what if we look at the beauty of the human being? What if we interpret things like Mildred did? We live in a better world. We create a better world. Because a mitzvah is really a creation. So I am humbled to be here today. And I thank the family for allowing me in. And I didn't, I knew the family somewhat, but so much more after we spent time. And Marsha is such an important part of our shul for so many years, for so much time coming and davening with us and learning Torah every day. So I thank you for allowing me in. And at this time, we would ask, are there pall bearers that will, okay. All right. Now, I would like to say Kaddish before we go. We have 10 men. We do, yes. So, would someone like from the family like to say? Maybe Richard, would you like to lead the mourners Kaddish? Someone? I could lead it, huh? Okay. Okay. Do you know when to respond? Amen? Okay. Amen? You answer amen? Yeah. Okay. Yiskadal v'yiskadash shemei rabo. Yoma divrach v'sei v'yamlech malchusei. V'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei d'chol beis Yisrael. V'adolav izman karev imru. Amen. Yehei shmei rabo mevorach. Yolav lo mei omayo. Yisparach v'yishtabach v'yispoar v'yisromam v'yisnasei. V'yishador v'yisale v'yishalo. Shmei d'gudsham b'richu. Liela min kol b'chasa v'shirasa. Tush b'chasa v'nechamasa. Tamiran b'yoma v'imru. Amen. Yehei shlomo rabba min shemaya. V'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Ose shalom b'mroma. Huyase shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Ose shalom b'mroma. Huyase shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Yase shalom. Yase shalom. Shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael. Yase shalom. Yase shalom. Shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael. You may be seated. I guess at this time the pallbearers will come forward.
Pallbearers, I can ask you to step over to this side, please. Okay? Is your chair together? You can move the rest of here. Or do you want to take it right do is pull the arm out to the hurt. So if it's easier for you to go ahead. Father, can you go with this gentleman in the back, please? Father. Can I ask people to rise, please? And Barbara and your family, immediate family, will follow behind the rabbi in the casket. When you get to the end, you go to the right, and your cards are there. Okay? Good part of the family. Oh, yeah. Okay, the service will be concluded at the Mount Olive Cemetery. We ask those who are going to that service, please return to your cars, put on your headlights and your hazard flashers. Thank you. No, in between now and you won't say it to them. The short one, same way we're not going to stop, the same way they will not sing Shiva. You weren't here, you came here late. They got here at 12:30. Thought you were going to go right out. Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, or she also would have been Susan if he was a man. No, he's out of town. But I would have recommended also guys for another rabbi, Rabbi Kushner, A.J. Kushner. Really great guy. Really